I do not need to tell this distinguished audience that we are meeting at an historic time for one region in particular, the Middle East and North Africa. Today, the long Arab winter has begun to thaw. For the first time in decades, there is a real opportunity for lasting change, a real opportunity for people to have their voices heard and their priorities addressed.
This is the 8th U.S. Islamic World Forum. The previous ones have been held in Doha with the support of the government of Qatar. We decided to launch this forum in the wake of the horrendous events of 9/11, in the belief that if we could promote a high-level dialogue between leaders from all over the Muslim world and the United States, this would help to bridge the gulf of understanding.
وهو منتدى لا يخص دولة قطر، أن دولة قطر ترعاه وتدعمه، ولكن هو يخص شعوب العالم الإسلامي وشعب الولايات المتحدة، حكومة العالم الإسلامي وحكومة الولايات المتحدة. وهذا المنتدى نعتبره منتدى هاما، لأن أحد المنتديات النادرة، لأن هناك قليل من المنتديات التي تربط الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية بالعالم الإسلامي.
This is the first time that the forum is being held in the United States of America. This signifies the growing importance that the U.S. attaches to such initiatives of engagement.
And I think that the forum this year was an incredibly important opportunity for a very broad range of American policymakers and influential thinkers in the United States to meet on a much more intimate basis with counterparts from all across the Muslim world, as well as the Muslim American community here, to develop a much better understanding of what it is that the United States is doing in the Muslim world, how the Muslim world sees American actions, what they would like to see and hear from the United States, and how our two societies can work better together.
We were able to bring people from over 30 countries in terms of policymakers, activists, intellectuals, opinion shapers, who came and really participated in the forum. The way that we were able to use social media and our website this year, we really actually had participation from over 98 countries.
It's really a terrific gathering. I think what made it particularly distinct this year was being able to bring it to Washington and have more Americans see what this very frank, very rich dialogue is all about.
All of these issues really came to the fore, which is the participation of women, religious freedom, involvement of youth, political structures in civil society. And I was pleased to see that people really seized the forum as an opportunity to talk about these issues.
I think this conference is very important in terms of being able to bring the primary decision makers in the Islamic world with the U.S. and to have what I call the difficult conversations, to really start talking about issues that are really challenging both societies, both in terms of working together but also moving forward. As everyone knows, particularly at this time in the Middle East, really beginning to see where the next steps are and what role the global community can have in supporting the organic protests that took place.
Let me show you Time magazine from last summer. This was from August 2010. And I hold up the cover and it says, "Is America Islamophobic?" Is America Islamophobic? This, of course, was on the heels of the debate about the mosque and community center in New York. David Brooks, what's the answer to that question?
You hear people saying crazy things on talk radio or in some of the TV channels, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily translating into mass movements. I don't think it is.
Since we began the U.S. Islamic World Forum in the wake of 9/11, there's obviously been a strong sense among a whole variety of different people in the United States and in the Muslim world that there's a gap that needs to be bridged. But by that same token, there's no question that the events of the past year, the Arab Spring, the unrest that's engulfed the Middle East and North Africa, has added a new urgency and a new sense of opportunity, a new sense of possibility in the Muslim world and for Americans looking at the Muslim world. And while I think that it's certainly the case that we have built year after year on a strong foundation and tried to open up the dialogue between our two civilizations, I also think that it's clear that what's happened this year in the Middle East, in North Africa, has really broken things wide open. And it was one of the reasons why our conversations this year were particularly fascinating, particularly informative, and I hope particularly influential in moving forward.
This Arab Spring will bring about changes not only in foreign policy but also in domestic political agenda of the Arab populations.
What has happened is the biggest game changer that we have seen in a very long time. In my lifetime, big game changers have been World War II, the end of the Cold War, and this. I think it is on that par in terms of really changing the attitude.
The internet and social media together have rendered closed societies open by default.
And I think it's an opportunity, frankly, for the United States, for every country in the region, to change the relationship bilateral between us and them, each of them individually, but also for them to change their relationship with their own people and thereby our relationship with their people.
Building an Arab democracy in the 21st century has to have deliberate attempt to empower these previously marginalized groups.
And I think people in our part of the world are legitimately wanting to be heard, wanting to participate in the running of their affairs. They're looking for transparency, accountability, justice. They're looking for meritocracy, dignity, freedom of expression. And I think that this people power, I mean, one of the youngsters of Egypt, whom I met on one of my visits to Cairo recently, said to me, "We have taken our own future in our own hands. What next?"
We never felt any appetite to be part of the political party system or the political process. My generation now, we feel that it's a sin not to be politically organized.
If democracy does not translate itself very quickly into well-being, into economic developments, into providing jobs to people, then it will lose its meaning.
I think what we need, and what not only from the U.S. business community, but the indigenous private sectors in each one of these countries need, is an operating environment, an investment environment that is conducive to wealth creation and growth. Transparency, accountable governance, that's good for the operating of a democratic society, but it's enormously important for business to succeed and create the jobs that all these young people deserve.
But the fact is, these conversations start with opinion leaders. That's why we call them opinion leaders. These are folks who, in their countries, in this country, are in positions of knowledge and authority and influence, and the conversation has to start here and then trickle out to the rest of the country.
We believe in this region. We see no reason that it cannot be among the most progressive, prosperous, peaceful, successful regions in the world. When we look at other regions in the world that have undergone change, sometimes violent, sometimes difficult, we see no reason why this region cannot succeed. And wherever we can, we will accelerate our work to develop stronger bonds with the people themselves, with civil society, business leaders, religious communities, women and minorities. We are rethinking the way we do business on the ground with citizens. And we want the citizens themselves to help set the priorities.
I'm also excited and exuberant and exhilarated by what's happening in the Maghreb and in the Arab world. I think the Arab Spring will spread to China and Russia and other countries in the world. This is a seismic event of incredible historical proportion. I'm glad I'm alive to see it, and I believe that we now have an opportunity to provide hope and democracy and freedom to people who have never known it.